Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Travis.
Well, we did our previews for each team in the AFC North, so today we'll be going over our predictions for the AFC North. So basically how we will do this is we'll give us, you guys 3 matchups to look out for on their schedules, and then an overall record for each team. So Travis, let's start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you see their season going on this year?
Well, I have them going 10-6 this year. I think they're going to win the division again. Some of the big key games to look out for this year is right off the back, week 2. They're going to be playing Minnesota at home. I mean, this is a high-powered offense versus a high-powered defense.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. With Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown versus guys like Anthony Barr, Danielle Hunter, and Xavier Rhodes.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure how this game's going to turn out. I think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring because Minnesota defense is that good.
They're really loaded.
But I think, with Steelers playing at home, I think that's going to give them the slight advantage.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously it's a great matchup between great offense, great defense.
Yeah.
Which one will win out in the end? I think it'll be interesting to see which one works itself out.
Yeah. And then the next key matchup, they got to go at Arrowhead, the loudest stadium in the NFL.
Tough game.
This is a
game.
rematch versus the AFC divisional round. As we all know, last year the Steelers ended up running away with it. Literally, Le'Veon Bell ran away with that game. That guy was just going off.
Unstoppable.
It's going to be a really fun game to watch. Obviously, the Steelers won last year, and I mean, they got to play 2 top 5 defenses in the first 6 weeks.
Again, that's another classic great offense versus great defense.
Yeah.
Which one's going to win out there? And at Arrowhead, it's a little bit tough for the Steelers, I think, because, again, like we said, it's the loudest stadium in the league, maybe besides Seattle, but those two are right up there for loudest stadiums, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously last year they were successful going in and winning.
Yep.
But I feel like the Chiefs in the regular season, they're just a little bit more better for some reason, which kind of sucks for them.
Andy Reid always figures it out in the regular season.
Yeah.
So.
They've had a lot of regular season success.
Yep.
And then the last key matchup will be Week 16 versus the Texans in Houston. Once again, another great defense they have to go up against. And also it will be interesting because, it's the second to last week before the playoffs start. Each team's going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And honestly, I'm not sure how this one's going to go out.
Yeah.
Houston, they have a great defense. And it seems like every year Ben Roethlisberger, you look at his home stats, you look at his away stats, and he's just 2 different guys. And it just seems like every year Ben Roethlisberger has one game where he just does flat out awful. And I could see, unfortunately, late in the season versus J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, that's a quarterback nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, that pass rush for the Houston Texans is loaded. J.J. Watt, if he can stay healthy for the season, I think he's on track to have another monster season for the Houston Texans. Again, another classic. Great offense meets great defense.
Yeah.
And at Houston, that could be a tough one for the Steelers, I think. So what's their overall record, you think, this year?
I have them going 10-6.
Okay, so still in a position to be in the playoffs, but still a pretty solid year for the Steelers for Travis.
What do you have them going?
I have them going 11-5, and a couple matchups to look out for me are the Ravens. Those are really tough divisional rivalry games. It's one of the best rivalries in football right now, and it's always a hard-nosed, smash-mouth game, even though the Steelers have had these high-powered offenses. Whenever they play their Baltimore Ravens, it's always a low-scoring, physical affair.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting how that series kind of works itself out between who will win at home, who will win away.
Yeah.
If the Steelers can actually win both games, I think that'll be interesting to see. Another game to look out for is Week 12 against Green Bay. They're at home for this one, but that could be a flat-out shootout. And we talked about going up against great defenses. The Packers,
2 great offenses.
2 great offenses going up against each other. Neither team really has that good of a secondary. At least so far, they don't really have that good of a secondary. We'll see how the year goes on, but as of now, that's looking like a high-powered offensive shootout.
You can see that in the 30s.
Yeah, even 40s, I'd say.
Even 40s.
It's going to be a fun game to watch, and for fantasy owners, you might be winning that week with if you have Aaron Rodgers or Ben Roethlisberger.
You might want to start those players.
You might want to start them. And then another one to look out for is Week 15 against New England Patriots at home. This is a rematch of the AFC Championship game last year where, the Steelers did lose. So this is, for me, late in the year with the playoffs around the corner around this time of the season. This game will kind of be a measuring stick game in terms of where are they in terms of being contenders and where can they get to the Super Bowl based off of this game. I think that'll be a measuring stick game for them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the next team we'll be covering is the Ravens. For me, a few big games to watch for them this season. Well, I got them week 4 versus the Steelers. They're going to be playing at home.
Yep.
Like you said, I mean, this is one of the biggest rivalries in football, and these two teams just flat out don't like each other.
No, they don't.
And I mean, it's always low scoring. It's always very physical. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yep.
Usually they end up splitting the series. I feel like the home team usually always wins this game. But
it's
then
going to be tough games, man. They're going to be tough games.
I mean, the AFC North is always very competitive.
Yep.
And then they got next week, they're going at Oakland. They got to play in the black hole. We know those Raider fans, they're diehard fans. That
last couple years in Oakland, too. Last couple years in Oakland.
You know they want to win. It's going to be, the Oakland, they got this high-powered offense. They're a young team on the rise. I don't think anyone really wants to play them.
No, I don't think so. And we forget about their defense too. Khalil Mack and all those boys. I mean, they had a down year last year. You know, they weren't too good, but Khalil Mack can single-handedly take over a game. And
just look at the Denver game.
Exactly. And if their defense can get up to snuff with Khalil Mack, I mean, just watch out for the Raiders. They're going to be really good this year, I think.
Yeah, and then the final key game, I have them at Week 9 versus Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really interesting game because also like the Raiders, Tennessee is a team on the rise.
Yep.
They got that dual-headed running back beast in DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. They're a smash-mouth football team.
Yep.
And, Ravens, they really pride themselves on their defense. So that's going to be a really physical and fun game to watch. And what do you think about that?
I think, the Tennessee game is an interesting one because, both teams really like to go old school, hard-nosed, pound the football and run the ball.
Run it right down your throat.
Yeah. And especially Tennessee with their offensive line and DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry. So that's an interesting one to watch. And both teams are going to be competing for that final wild card spot or playoffs spot, in my opinion, so far. So it's looking like. So how do you think the record's going to be this year?
Overall, I got the Ravens at 7-9 this year. I feel like, they're not quite ready to take over the AFC North. They did get better this year. They had a lot of defensive upgrades that will help them. I think they're going to be in a lot of close games, so it's kind of hard to predict. I mean, they could go 7-9. They could also be at 10-6, close to the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I have them going 7-9 as well, and they just didn't really make enough additions on their offense to really make me feel confident. I just don't trust Joe Flacco at this point. They lost Rick Wagner at right tackle, so I don't know if that affects their offensive line in any way. And, a few matchups that I'm looking for is Week 16 against the Colts. Those are two teams that, again, they'll be fighting for a playoff spot. Colts are kind of in a similar situation where I'm not sure if they're going to run away with their division or anything like that, but they're going to be at least competing for a wild card position.
Yeah.
Another team to look out for is the Dolphins in Week 8. They're kind of another team in that same situation where they're going to be hovering around the middle of the pack, so to speak. So they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And then the Bengals, they play them in Week 1, and then they play them in Week 17. Again, they could split that matchup there as well because it's another divisional game, another rivalry game. So we'll see how that works out for them.
I think that last game is going to be really interesting. Week 17, playing an AFC North rival, they could be fighting for a playoff spot in the last week.
Yep. So let's move on from the Ravens to the aforementioned Cincinnati Bengals. How do you see their season going this year?
Well, a few key games to watch for them. I have, obviously anytime they play the Steelers, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be physical. Andy Dalton, you got A.J. Green for him. You got John Ross with Ben Roethlisberger, if Martavius Bryant's back, and Antonio Brown. I mean, those guys are going to put up some great plays. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, obviously, both teams have really high-powered, explosive weapons on the outside.
Yeah.
Even at running back for the Steelers. But, it'll be interesting to see if those teams will be shootout games or because they're in division games and they're AFC North, whether they be low-scoring games.
Yeah. And then the next key game is they're playing Green Bay Week 3 and at Lambeau Field. I mean, that is a really hard place to come in and steal a game from them. I think, they're going to have to try to somehow slow down Aaron Rodgers and that lethal passing attack. It's going to really tell how good of a defense Cincinnati's going to be this year. And also if they can compete with those high-powered offenses. Last year their offense, once A.J. Green went down, it kind of stagnated. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep up in the shootout with them. I have a feeling it'll be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I don't know how good both of their teams' defenses are going to be this year. I'm not sure if they made enough improvements for the Bengals on their defense. But their offense could be explosive enough to kind of stay in that game. But at Lambeau, it's a tough task, for them to really overcome that, I think.
Yeah, and then my last key matchup is they got to go into Denver Week 11 and face one of the best secondaries in football with Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch A.J. Green and them go at it. And obviously, both of them kind of pride themselves on their defense. With Denver, they're still in that QB competition. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But both of these teams are in loaded divisions. Both of these teams will be fighting for either their division title or a wild card spot.
Yeah, again, Denver has a great defense, and with the way that the Bengals' offensive line is kind of weakened this year, it'll be interesting how they can handle that elite pass rush that Denver possesses.
That's true. Yeah.
So, how do you see the record going on this year?
Overall, I have the Bengals also going 7-9. I feel like they're just playing a bunch of tough opponents, and it's going to be really hard to kind of distance themselves from the pack. The AFC North is really going to be beating up on each other a lot this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a little bit more pessimistic on the Bengals. I've been going 5-11 this year. I just feel like the way their offensive line is just... I mean, you lose two premier talents in Whitworth and Zittler, and that's huge for the offensive line where they need that extra protection to help that running game and help those weapons like A.J. Green and John Ross get down the field. And to me, the key stretch for them will be after their bye week in Week 6. They have a game where they're at Pittsburgh, they play Indianapolis at home, and then there's 3 straight road games where they play Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Denver. That's a tough stretch after their bye week. So that's really going to define whether they're going to be a playoff team this season or another team where they're going to be high in the draft looking to get a good player in the upcoming draft.
Yeah, and to be honest, even if they do take a step back, sometimes 1 step back, 2 steps forward, they could get a difference maker for next year that'll really help them take over the AFC North.
I don't necessarily think they're a bad team. There's a lot of talent in this team, but I just think they're just not quite where they were making the playoffs every single year for a 5 or 6 year run.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, moving on from the Bengals, we're going to go to the last team in the division, the Browns, who, they had a really rough year last year, 1-15, worst team in football.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of young talent in this team. How do you think their season will go?
I think it's going to go a lot better. Well, not a lot better. It'll go better this year.
It can't really get much worse. So.
Exactly. Now, a few key matchups I marked on my calendar for the Browns is they're going to play the Jets Week 5. That's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be the Toilet Bowl. It's going to be sloppy. Who wants to win?
It's going to be entertaining for the wrong reasons, basically.
Exactly.
And it'll be interesting to watch for sure because I'm not sure who the Jets will start, but we're not really sure who the Browns will start yet.
Yeah,
so
you don't know.
There's a lot of options there to see.
And then in Week 11, they're going to be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that has a lot of individual young talent as long as the Browns. They also have lots of young talent. I think, it could go either way. Jacksonville, they'll either be really good or they'll be kind of mediocre again this year. So I could see the Browns stealing this game. They'll be playing at home, which is a big advantage for them. And then my last key matchup, this is the matchup I'm really the most excited for with the Browns, is they're going to be playing Chicago in Week 16. And I think these two teams, at that point of the season, they'll both probably be eliminated from the playoffs. And I think you could see 2 rookie quarterbacks going at it, Deshaun Kaiser and Mitch Trubisky. I think that'll be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, these guys are both highly touted prospects. They'll finally get their first chance of, getting some real NFL action. I think the teams will put them in and see, what they got, see how they can handle it, get some experience. So going to next year, they'll have some valuable playing time. I think it'll be interesting to see how those 2 quarterbacks perform.
Well, it'll also be interesting because, there's rumors for the draft that Cleveland's looking to trade up ahead of Chicago in order to get Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
So it could be a sort of sign of what they could have had if Trubisky is playing at that point. So where do you think the record will be this year?
For me, their record's going to be 3-13. It's going to be 2 games better than last year. I think they're on the right path now. They're going to get a little bit better this year. Hopefully next year they'll improve on their 3-13 record that I'm predicting. So.
Yeah, I think going 4-12 again. The Jets game will be interesting to watch for sure. I think one interesting matchup will be the rivalry with the Bengals. They play them twice this year because they're divisional. That's a really underrated rivalry. Both the teams hate each other. The fan bases don't like each other at all. And they usually play however bad each team is or how good each team is. They always play each other tough. So that'll be an interesting game to watch. But other than that, I mean, there's really not a lot of matches that really excite me because again, the Cleveland Browns they're going to be bad this year, so it's really tough for me. I mean, the Jets is interesting. Chicago's another interesting one. I think they could split it with Baltimore as well because, again, another divisional game. These guys know each other very well, so it'll be interesting what they can do there.
The players will be ready to play against each other, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yep, that is for sure. Well, those are our predictions for the AFC North. Let us know how you guys feel about them in the comment section below. So thanks, guys, for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. The next division we'll be doing is the NFC East, so stay tuned.